Alrighty, what are my cut and dry thoughts on the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake leak and people putting together all of their conspiracies and controversies and everything under the sun? Here's my 2 cents on this. So first, I have to give a synopsis because that's the only way it makes sense. On the gaming rumors and leaks subreddits, there was a 9-minute 10-minute video posted of a workshop that was from Ubisoft and the Prince of Persia team who were working on the Prince of Persia remake. Now there's two versions of this remake that kind of occurred. The first one is the one from Ubisoft Plume back in 2020, and they were unsatisfied with the quality of what was going on with this. There were people riffing on the graphics of the 2020 Prince of Persia remake when they unveiled it and showed it, saying it looked like an indie game, it looked like a mobile game, a lot of slander on it. So retroactively seeing it back in the limelight, sort of appreciate it to a sense because of the designs, is quite funny. But they scrapped this and they decided to get back the original team to work on this, and there was this leak pre-alpha talking about the designs and philosophies of the game, talking about how Farah now defends herself, which I assume that equates to gameplay. And you have your typical breastfeeder Grummz trying to spin it, saying that Farah's a girl boss now with no other indication because the game is not out yet, and that was just pre-release footage showing how the prince moved and giving bios and giving concept art, this, that, and the third. Now there are folks riffing on the model of Farah, riffing on the prince and whatnot, and I think this is, first and foremost, I think this is an unintelligent thing to do. We've seen people kind of try to do this before. Grummz himself did this before, where it's like, oh, they made Jean Grey ugly, blah 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 and whatnot, and you see the problems in these pictures, right? You see one of the glaring problems with Wolverine with the fact that this was pre-release footage and Wolverine's cowl is clipping through his head, and that's not right. Right? So, that's why I don't judge things based on pre-alphas. I'm sure usually the gameplay or the husk of the gameplay or the skeleton of the gameplay is going to remain the same, but faces, environments, graphics, layering on extra details, textures, different faces and hair and physics, all of that will change from alpha to final. And if you believe that is not the case, like 90% of the time, I don't know what to tell you. I would just imagine that is unintelligent logic, and you need to understand the concept of placeholders. Placeholders aren't always indicative of final game. And I told people that several times on this channel. I said it's not a good thing to do overall. And naturally speaking, you look at the graphics of this now, and you look at the Wolverine trailer they released 2 months ago. It's like night and day at this point. Hold on, let me put this at 1080p. Let me enhance it a little bit, and let me full screen it. I doubt I have sound playing. I don't think that I do, but you see the footage, you see the graphics. Everyone said that shit looks good. So judging a character from pre-alpha, judging a screenshot from pre-alpha, not a good thing. I also saw people do that with GTA 6. Oh, it looks just like GTA 5. That leak is not for our eyes. We're not supposed to see it. That's why they don't show us like pre-alpha footage, because with pre-alpha comes preconceived notions. And I think that's a good way of describing it. Like there are certain blurbs that people will flat out ignore for pre-alpha footage. They can say Halo Remake is pre-alpha footage. There's gonna be someone that says, oh, it looks like shit. So it ultimately doesn't matter, because some people will see something and it could say it's in pre-alpha and they've made their minds up already about stuff that will possibly change around as the game goes on in game development. And I am not part of this strange alien herd that makes these assumptions about pre-alpha footage with graphics, so I'm honestly not one of these people at all. I can plainly tell you that now. As for her being a girl boss, I think in that presentation they are talking about gameplay, because as I said, and I've platinum Prince of Persia Sands of Time, there's one annoying segment in the game, and you know what it is if you played it. It's the elevator segment where the prince and Farah are fighting against these sand creatures, and they're trying to attack you, these humanoid sand creatures, and sometimes Farah will die on this particular segment a lot, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes if you're in a struggle with a creature and more enemies show up and she's getting hit, she's going to die. All right, and I forget if there was, oh my god, I platinumed the game, I don't remember if I was playing on hard mode or not, or if there is a hard mode in the original. I just know that she died like 10 times while I was doing this, and I died maybe 5 times. 15 game overs. Okay, it was fucking annoying in the original, and I'm hoping what that means is that Farah could take care of herself as an NPC, as an AI, and she won't die as much in the segment, and I don't have to babysit her time in and time out. I didn't even like the fixes they made to Ashley in Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm just tired of those escort missions where the NPC does fuck all and they just die, and it feels like the developer, they don't know what to really do with NPCs of that caliber, and it becomes annoying for the player. So this I don't mind. I don't mind this at all. I'll even go further and say I believe that The Last of Us had great NPC AI. Gives you time to save them if they're if they have like this little red circle over their heads, and you go over there, you punch the shit out of them and you stop it, that's fine, and it feels like you aren't getting spotted because the AI is being seen. It was just good. All right, that's the blueprint. I want the AI to fight for itself. I save it a few times, but it's not annoying, and we just go on with the adventure, and it's not too frustrating, okay? Because I hate when an NPC dies and it's not really my fault, and it's in seconds, and it's just frustrating, okay? I always found this frustrating in video games. You know, you could do escort missions right, and you could do them clearly annoyingly. And you know, Grummz is not talking about the gameplay. He has like a narrative to push, so I'm really not surprised by what these blue check marks are saying. All I'm gonna say is I'll wait until launch, or I'll wait into the new trailer, and we'll see how the designs develop from there. And I think that's a fair assessment to say, versus making a preconceived notion, saying something that looks like shit. Oh, GTA 6 looks like GTA 5. You shoot yourself in the foot, and then a new trailer comes out and you look stupid. Okay, it's just no getting around it. It's just, that is unintelligent to say that designs can't be shifted around from alpha to final. And it's funny that Ubisoft themselves kind of responded to this. They said, glad to hear you liked it, even if it wasn't meant to go out. This footage was from a workshop we hosted to get feedback from community members back in early 2024. The game has changed so much since then, and we can't wait to show it next year. Therefore, I think there's going to be probably a trailer at the Game Awards, and then more gameplay next year. And Tom Henderson said this game might drop January, mid-January, and there's not really a lot of competition there, which makes sense, because February and March, it's going to be very, very hard to get games out during that time unless you do April, because, you know, James Bond in March, all that other shit, Resident Evil Requiem in February. It makes the best sense to release this either in January or April. There's no other period of time to do that. Overall, I would say I just wish people would think more outside of the box with pre-release or leaked footage or stuff that's not supposed to be out, and just think, okay, well, we have a skeleton husk of gameplay here, let's wait until the trailer and then we'll do a deeper assessment, and then I can make all the assumptions I want there, because that's akin to showing me what's close to the final product, or it should be, at least. If it's not and you don't put a blurb there, that's kind of your fault. The last thing is, I will acknowledge that Ubisoft has done bull shots before, but I can't remember them doing it in recent memory. Like, they probably put out CGI trailers and shit like that, and they have put out things in the past where Watch Dogs, they made this big deal, they showed this graphical showcase of Watch Dogs and gameplay, and it looked amazing, and the gamers kind of got screwed over, and the wool pulled over our eyes when the final game of Watch Dogs was downgraded. And that was when people were making like the big memes of Ubisoft downgrade, Ubisoft downgrade, they're gonna downgrade the graphics. It happened with Siege too. The concept trailer looked awesome, and then the game got graphically downgraded. But in that instance, I don't think that many people cared. I think Watch Dogs, people held their feet to the flames, but Siege, people didn't really care, and it turned out to be like an esports sensation and they loved it. So go figure, I guess. You made a fun game. Overall, people just didn't care in the long term for that, and then they made Siege X, the graphical updates to that and shit, so I guess they kind of like was like, oh shit, we can try to milk this one last time. But I don't remember in recent memory a Ubisoft game that personally got downgraded. If there was, post it in the comment section and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, yeah, and if this was like after Watch Dogs 1, I would say, yeah man, expect downgrades, I'd be on the same train. But for now, AC Shadows showed what they had, and the graphics were relatively, you know, the same to me from certain trailers to final, which I didn't mind at all. At least it wasn't downgraded to me personally. Overall, what do you guys think of this? Like I said, we need to stop judging pre-alpha footage and fucking, you know, saying, oh my god, at least graphically, you know, and the shit like that. And I don't think that this girl boss thing needs more validity, and it needs further notes and citations. And I know people are gonna get mad about the truth, but it's true. Like, what in particular? Like, is there story stuff that was taken from Prince of Persia, and she was girl bossing on the prince or whatever, and she was demeaning him and putting him down, and she was taking the lead in the game, and you played as her for like literally fucking 60%, you know, and the Prince of Persia basically got like shoved over. Like, is anything like that going on? I'm putting your same hypothetical scenarios in your head, and I'm just wondering, is that what we saw from the gameplay? What I saw from the gameplay was the prince doing acrobatic stuff and hitting people, and sometimes he would pick Farah up and throw her across like a certain obstacle, and you would jump over there. So it was typical stuff that we know they were working on from original to remake. I didn't see any of that in there, and descriptions, we have no idea. I think this is going to translate the gameplay. I think this means less annoying combat encounters with Farah involved and other sort of NPC monsters that they're introducing, and I hope this means that I won't die like 15 times on that elevator. I'm still salty as fuck about that, bruh. Each time I play the original. Where's the girl bossing? Seriously. What, Grummz takes a story synopsis of a character and he decides to put his own misinterpretation and spin on it, and he thinks I'm gonna believe what he wants me to believe despite him not having circumstantial evidence of proving this? Absolutely not. I would rather run across a field and get dragged naked through glass before I believe what Grummz says, until it's actually verified and it's actually made valid in front of my face. I just don't see it. He took a story synopsis of a character, he put his own interpretation and spin on the matter and tried to put it out there for rage bait clicks. Like, what the fuck is that shit? What are we doing these days? Seriously, like, what the fuck? Nothing in that description that I read said anything about girl bossing whatsoever. He just put his own words on that and twisted it around like a knife, and I'm expected to believe this dude? Fuck no, absolutely not. Until I see video evidence, I don't believe it. I don't think Grummz plays games, let alone he can't finish one. Ooh, but hey man, he still has this loyal fan base that will get scammed by him and Ember. So good job, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, this is Renegade Operative. I am signing off. I do love y'all. I hope you have a good day. I have these new policies in play on my channel now. Remember, you gotta come in, attack the argument, not the creator. That means that people can't make all these weird personal threats anymore. I'm not entertaining it anymore, and you will get banned for them if you make them. I'm just saying now, you know, we can have civil discourse in the comment section all day long, but you're gonna come around, I want to beat you up, or fucking black Indians, I'm gonna yeet you off the reservation. Like, no, we ain't having that no more. You gonna just get banned, buddy. And there's gonna be no skin off my nose. But I think I let out my thoughts rather fine here. Comment below, let me know, what do you think about this game in particular? I have no idea at the moment. I'm all for it. I want to see more of it, but I feel like I just need more to assess, and I've kept my tabs on this for the longest time, ever since the Plume update. I was the one who said I'm still willing to play it and give it a chance, even when it graphically was not there in terms of fidelity, and I might do the same here. And on live stream, I'll tell you guys what I think about it. I will see you guys next time though. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and you fucked that turkey up. I'll see you next time. Later. All right, and then there's this last response at the end of the video. I wanted to implant and put. I kind of missed this one, but this was a follow-up response to a fan account talking about the concept art of Farah and saying this is what she is expected to look like at the end of development. All right, so first and foremost, all of this is going to divulge into fucking this beauty standard and that beauty standard and what this character is supposed to look like, and what gets me off here, like, the fuck. I just think this shit's stupid now, so I'm gonna give you my personal perspective here. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. A lot of this shit is kind of dumb at this point to me personally, and it's just about looks of a character versus supplemental material that's important to the actual gameplay itself, but I digress. All right, and Grummz says, no, I'm not buying this line of corporate planted BS for Prince of Persia. Are you? The concept art is not the end target, but the first target, and artists, especially AAA artists who are supposed to be the best, would not miss by that much on the initial pass. Everything is completely different. It's like they dismissed the concept entirely. Now that the cat is out of the bag and Ubisoft got caught, this smells like planted / leak damage control. If so, let's hope they pause and redo Farah. Of course they will claim it was always the plan, but we know otherwise. This, to me, now I think what they decided to do, if we got to see the final model, of course, but if we go back to what he said initially, yes, for concepts in particular, sometimes that's not really the end target. Things can change with the model. We see this before. I had art books where characters were done with an initial concept and then they grew into more and more changes and alterations, and then the end target is the final model that's rendered and everything else. However, when he said this is planted in there, he does realize that this came from the first and initial leak that got spread out on the internet. How the fuck is that planted? Because they got caught afterwards when Ubisoft themselves said they didn't want this out there in the first place. That makes no sense. That's a statement that can be questioned. First, we got to go back to what you said about this concept art. How is this planted in here? How is this planted? How is this planned? Because they already said they didn't want this to get out. I don't think this was planted at all, especially with the concept art, which you said is subject to change. I guess, are you pissed off that concept art that you find desirable is subject to change throughout development when they get to the final model, the final render and everything? Of course, that's something you naturally said you expect, and it's not the end target, but where's the damage control if you know this was already supplemental to the leak at hand? I don't understand. What? I mean, this concept art does look good. This would be cool if they go this direction. At the same time, if they change it, or if they want to say, I want to harken a little bit back to the original, I want to make the hair shorter, I want to do this, I want to do that, then what we have is just models and placeholders from the pre-alpha footage, which is not final, and you don't even know what the final one looks like. I don't even know what the final one looks like. You see what I'm saying? And the only thing we know is that the prince has a classic skin, and that's it. Therefore, if you don't possibly like the skin of the originals, I hope you have that option to change it. But I don't really want to speak too much on the concept of final because we don't have that in front of us. The smart thing for them to do, in my opinion, is to do a perfect blend of this concept arts and some of the original Farah, and that would be personally fine. I think there would be no issue there whatsoever, but judging this alpha for that alone, that ain't it. And everything else is just tinfoil hat conspiracies. Each and every single time I think about it, when I hear you talk, it just sounds just like that. Tinfoil hatting to its extreme degree. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, it's stuff like that that's just stupid. Okay? And even if we evolved from concept to render and they decided to spruce up the render from a goddamn alpha, right? That means it's still in concept until the final version. So why not just wait until that before saying, oh, they'll claim it was always the plan otherwise? That just seems like deflection if you happen to be wrong. You know, if they happen to spruce up the model to look even better and you might not know. But again, I also don't want to jump the gun on that as well. We'll wait and see. Personally, this does not affect me in the slightest whatsoever. It's a leak that happened. It's something that was on my feed. It's something to talk about. I think the general animations, they're rough, but they look fine, and I want to see them in fluidity. I have general intrigue into seeing how this turns out. I'm probably going to be very on top of this, very skeptical, because again, Prince of Persia Sands of Time is the first Prince of Persia game I got into. Therefore I want to see it come into fruition. You know, there's cautious optimism in play, for me at least. And if the trailer impresses, if the gameplay impresses, I'm gonna say what it is. If it doesn't impress, I'm gonna be like, man, there's that. Even the HD remaster that they had, I heard people say that it really wasn't the greatest, so I might just go and pick up a classic copy and divulge myself into it, or just play it on emulation. It really, you know, when it comes to remakes that I don't enjoy or I'm not feeling, I always will go back to the classic and still love and appreciate and enjoy that, because it's timeless to me, in my personal opinion, and it's not going anywhere. Well, it might go somewhere, considering if you want a fucking physical copy, it's goddamn hundreds of dollars, but it's not going anywhere for emulation whatsoever. I feel like people are very quick to jump the gun on this one, and me personally, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt as usual, as I do mostly all the time, as I do every time. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna test it out myself, and then we'll talk about the game properly, and we'll talk about the graphics properly when they get close to final build, which is the smart thing to do.